Hi, my name is David, and a couple of friends have said, why don't I make a video about my hats? I have a lot of pride in what I put on my head, and I thought I might spend some time talking about them on an individual basis, like one hat at a time, and make a series of videos. The beautiful thing about this is that you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. It's easy as that. So I'm going to talk about some of my hats. The other point I want to make before I do this is that I don't like the whole editing process at all, and I'm not going to do it. So if you don't like what you see, or if I mess up, or if I stutter, or if I talk too fast, fast forward, because I'm not gonna change anything. Okay. Also, today's a game day, and I'm hoping the Saints can right the ship and play with a little bit more fervor and beat the Titans today. We'll see what happens. So the first hat I'm going to show you is a Porkpie hat. That's made by the Selentino company, which is from the parent company Selco, who's been making hats for about 200 years. This is the black fur hat. It's rabbit fur. I've had it for about 5 years. It's their model that's called Oak. So it's the Oak Porkpie by Selentino. Selentino makes hats primarily in Czechoslovakia, but some of them are made also in Italy and in Poland, but primarily it's Czechoslovakian. And for the quality of these hats, I find them very affordable. I bought this hat for about $150, I think, about 5 years ago, and it's about $200 now on their website. I buy most of my hats at Meyer the Hatter. Meyer the Hatter is, as far as I can tell, the oldest family-owned and operated hat store in the country. I know that Henry the Hatter is an older shop, but they've been sold 2 or 3 times. If you go to Meyer the Hatter on St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans, right off Canal Street, you have a good chance of being helped by one of the Meyer family. Mr. Sam Meyer, who's the patriarch of the family at this point, is a really wonderful man to talk to, a great resource for hats. If you're trying to decide what kind of hat would be best for you, Mr. Sam can show you and tell you what would look great on you. But don't expect to walk into some boutique fancy store. It's a hat shop. Same kind of hat store. It's been for over 100 years, I think 130 years. It's a great shop, great people. 3 generations now work in the shop. It's a great place. Anyway, the Selentino hat is fine quality hats. They have a lot of really wonderful hats, and one of the things I really like about them is they have a great variety of colors in their hats. You could buy this hat in navy, camel, purple, I think. Burgundy, whiskey. You could buy this in a great variety of colors. And all of their hats are like that. They have a lot of wonderful colors. They even have hats with polka dots, and they have some long-haired beaver hats that are really beautiful and very, very affordably priced for what they are. And you can see the detail, the feather. They have the wind trolley. I don't know if you can see that on there. It has a wind trolley. Wonderful, really nicely made hats. I'll put it on. Now, the Porkpie Style, I kind of enjoy wearing it tipped down because it's not something you see on a pork pie. Often people usually wear them turned up, but I really like it turned down. I like that look. The Porkpie Style has been around for a long time, and I feel like it's often the style that people wear to be remembered. In a lot of TV shows and movies, you'll see pork pie hats on characters that you want to be. I don't know how to say that they are not really the good guy, because they often are the protagonist, but they have something that's unique about them, some kind of a flawed kind of character. And I think that Porkpie rather than the fedora, is such a unique style, and it's memorable. Some of the famous characters that have worn pork pie hats, Buster Keaton was famous for wearing his pork pie hat. Of course, in Breaking Bad, Walter White and his Heisenberg character wore a pork pie really famously. Art Carney in The Honeymooners. I don't know if you remember that, but it's a great old sitcom, and Art Carney wore a pork pie all the time. Popeye Doyle, Gene Hackman in French Connection. That's another great movie, and Popeye Doyle is a great character, a flawed cop sent from United States sent over to Paris to find or Marseille to find drugs. Also some. It's a lot of times it's centered. I mean, it's thought of as kind of had a jazz players wore. I think Lester Young was the famous sax player that wore pork pie, and my friend Zaire is gonna be angry with me, but there's a very famous jazz bass player who wears a pork pie, and I can't remember his name. And then Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect, is also famous for his pork pie, but his was kind of stylized. I think it had a little wider brim and a little taller crown than the typical pork pie. Speaking of sizes, let me grab my little measuring ruler and see what the measurements are in this hat. So this hat is about a 2-inch brim and about a little over 3.25 or 3.5 inch crown. The 2-inch brim is pretty typical for pork pies. Other than the current trend, or not, I don't know if it's current still, because I'm not very up on what's current. But the trend with the hipster thing with this tiny little brim and the pork pie hat is out there too. But I think historically, pork pies have about a 2-inch brim, smaller usually than a fedora, a little bit wider than a trilby, and often it's characterized with people wearing the brim up, as I mentioned, but it does snap down, and I think that's a really nice look also, snap down. So that's my first video, my first hat, the Selentino pork pie, the oak model. It's black, but you can find this hat in many different colors, and very reasonably priced for a fur hat at $200. I think it's $203 or something like that. Anyway, Selentino hats in general are a great buy and are a great quality merchandise. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and thanks for watching, and I hope I'll get better at this whole video recording thing, but don't expect a miracle. Okay, thanks for coming, thanks for watching, and keep your head covered.